All right. Sorry, everybody, for the 10-second delay. I was just getting Instagram Live set up. Welcome in to College Soccer Match Day, Episode 4. That's Dylan Lane. I'm Mark Helkenberg. We're going to cover a couple of the exhibition games that we went to last night, each of us, and then get into probably the last two conference previews that we do, just because it's kind of getting too close to the season. We might as well start gearing up towards what's happening right now. So we'll have you start off, Dylan, with NC State versus South Carolina. The Gamecocks went up to Raleigh last night, and I'll pull up the starting 11s. We can start there, but then I know we can go through like the stuff you saw on each side.
For
But
sure.
maybe actually timeout. Let's start with just recapping what the objectives are of exhibitions. We talked about it briefly with you and Trace in the first episode, but there are some things that we definitely need to almost qualify before we start talking about exhibitions, because there's a lot of things that I think are obvious to
Yeah.
people, but will definitely help as we lead into the two games of coverage here.
No, I totally agree. I mean, preseason's tough for like every single player on every single team. I feel like it's a lot of 2-a-days, 7, 8 a.m. training in the morning with probably some fitness test the first couple days, whether it's the beep test, the yo-yo, or the Cupid test. And then from there, it's afternoon training, and that's probably for like a straight week. And of course, the first 2-3 days, you have in-person meetings to go over game model, your tactics, what to expect, the culture. But it's really fun as well because you get to see the freshmen, you get to kind of build that culture, and you see kind of their relationships build off and on the field. But I think that's a important thing to take into consideration before we talk about these games, because you kind of lose your mind after the third or fourth inter squad scrimmage. You can only play against your teammates so much.
Yeah. And I mean, from what I've heard and seen, it's like you said, the 2-a-days. Some teams are training before they even have these exhibition games. So they do a morning practice, and then, they go into these games. And understandably, I mean, they just showed up on Monday
Yeah.
for
And
full team stuff. And
so like the
they're,
first game in a way is like get the bad touches out the way. Like we always
yeah,
made a joke if you did like a bad pass in the first practice, it's like like that's why we have a first practice. So like the first 5 minutes, it's like I want to if I do a bad pass, it's okay. Like but of course that's not like the best mindset. It's kind of a joke, but like you want to have questions arise after those first game or two during preseason, and like even in the inner squad scrimmage, to be like, okay, how do we answer these questions and how do we piece the puzzle together? And I feel like nowadays, with how popular USL League Two is, a lot of players do come back fit more so than previous years. Because I mean, I feel like I would love to see like the percentage of players playing USL League Two like within a college team, because I would say it's probably more than 50, right? Or like not even League Two, but UPSL and other summer leagues. I think kids nowadays know that's the way to get ahead. Like, let's be honest, like you can train on your own all you want, but if you're not getting those game reps and a good training with other quality players across the country, you're going to fall behind. And I think it's evident come preseason.
yeah. And with how competitive even earning a spot in the starting lineups, and, even, I mean, we'll cover a couple of them. We already covered guys like Dan Klink, guys who haven't even came into college yet, um, that had played in USL League Two or trained with those teams, because you're getting a preview of the caliber of player, the
Yeah.
guys that are older. You're learning a lot more. So, I mean, we have a Gatorade State Player of the Year list and where those guys are going, but I think there were like 10 out of the 50 that were playing on USL League Two teams over the
Yeah.
summer. Um,
And I
I
feel
think
like for,
the last other note that I had is like, I think even on like the gameplay of exhibitions is just obviously different than like regular season stuff because primarily you're just trying to figure out what you want to do. You're
Yeah.
not really paying or you're not really doing any opposition prep or advanced scouting stuff of like how you need to counteract another team's, positives versus exploiting their weaknesses. So it's more of we just need to figure ourselves out first and we'll all that strategy and how you line up against oppositions uh, during the regular season, like that stuff's fairly easy
Yeah,
in
and plus, like
comparison.
I do think preseason says a lot about your body too. Like, there's so many players get knocks and nibble, like roll ankles or strain on the hammy, and I think that does have an effect of how teams want to play. You know, if you want to play a back three and like two of your supposedly starters get injured, you have to change that. So I think it's a lot on the players too to be diligent and like recover and like between sessions take a nap, contrast therapy, like and like that's another like preseason. They're not in school too, so that's another taste of what it's like to be a pro because you're doing 2-a-days. You train in the morning. You eat, like the dining hall's open, so it's a cool experience overall because it's like it answers a lot of questions and shows who is really going above and beyond in the preparation and recovery.
Yeah, and obviously without being the let's talk about the weather. I mean,
Yeah.
it's still late or middle of August, so evidently you're gonna get some humid days.
Real
Um,
quick, I want to Mally said asked if that's a cookout shirt.
yeah, so Cookout FC, one of the best club or what do they call it? Intramural soccer teams at UNC Wilmington. Um, One of my former players started Cookout FC down there a few years ago. I think obviously he's since graduated, but it was awesome. They were like selling these jerseys, and obviously this one was Nike. I think they went to either Under Armour the next year or something like that. But yeah, it was awesome.
I do think
I think
before
they went undefeated.
one of the most important questions of the night is going to have to be now, what's your go-to cookout order for the people who don't know? It's like basically a fast food joint with like way too many options and it's really greasy and it's like really good, but after like you regret it. So what's the go-to? And the milkshakes too, you can combine anything you want, like literally anything.
So, and for a lot of people who don't know,
And this is a soccer podcast, but the first couple of
yeah,
minutes we just open it up.
you definitely have to know the lingo too,
Yeah.
because what you do, you get your main item and then you have two sides, but you don't word it that way.
Yeah.
So, strips tray, fries, onion rings, and I get a lot of Texas Pete, and then I don't know, pineapple milkshake or like a
Oh,
peach one or
pineapple.
something
That's
like that.
wild.
Yeah,
Pineapple milkshake.
that was like the summer one, man. It's like
You
this
last
the
episode it was
summertime
caramel
place.
ice cream and now it's pineapple milk. I respect it, especially on a summer day.
Yeah.
But all right, you know
Well,
what I get? Have you had the
yeah.
quesadillas there?
Yeah, one of my best friends
I would say
swears
quesadilla
by those.
with hush puppies and French fries. Like we used to go after games because we just wanted salty food,
Yeah.
and we would get like two main. We would get like a quesadilla, 2 cheeseburgers. I'm like outing myself right now. I don't really care though. Like hush puppies, French
He's still
fries.
in shape, everybody,
Yeah, I
unlike
work
me.
out. I try to work out. I get my steps in. Then a cookies and cream milkshake. But like my cookout, they were really bad in like mixing it. So there's a bunch of like Oreos on the bottom. So it was a good time. A good time.
Yeah. Well,
Anyways,
I will say that this podcast is not brought to you by Cookout,
but if they want to send some food over, I'm okay with that.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, so let's on that
I mean,
note,
do we just keep on talking about cookout? No,
we can pop in. I don't think the viewers, if you feel like commenting your Cookout order,
Owen
feel free.
definitely will. Owen
Feel
will comment
free.
his cookout order.
But yeah, let's move into NC State versus South Carolina. Like I said, it was a home game for the Wolfpack. Here's how they lined up according to you.
Yes.
Yeah, since I obviously wasn't there, but yeah.
No, yeah. So
what we expected.
yeah, it's what we expected. Like going into it, I was excited because both teams reloaded in the transfer portal and had some returners. So I knew it was going to be a good game with a lot of talented players, especially like the number 9s. If you look at Donovan and Conde, then Khan and Trimmel, those are like 2 very good strike forces and partnerships. And with the formation, you feel like, Herbert has always played that 4-4-2 diamond, and South Carolina have always played that 5-3-2. So I knew it would be like a midfield heavy game, and I knew South Carolina could exploit the weak side, wing back, because, that's what NC State gives up because of this formation. But going into it, I was just going to be curious to see the relationships and who kind of, with these preseason games too, you kind of really see who's about it in regards to like not taking it as a preseason game,
Yeah.
You kind of just
definitely get that feel for sure.
Yeah, who kind of just like takes the game to themselves and like, I'm just gonna like dominate or, not go through the motions. So NC State did the 4-4-2 diamond. South Carolina did the 5-3-2. It was honestly more of a 5-3-2 because they were pretty passive. The wingbacks, they were more natural outside backs, I would say, that were more comfortable defending and kind of building up deep. And I think I'll go through each team, but one note of South Carolina, I think at times that was difficult for them because they were in good positions up top, but because the outside backs were a little bit passive, it was difficult to get numbers in NC State's defensive half. But when South Carolina did get all those numbers, they were they were dangerous. And so the first 10 minutes, I would say, was pretty choppy, but that's what you expect in a preseason game. It's just new faces, getting the touches right, the combinations. Right away, though, you could see how dangerous Phillip and Conde are. Just they love to be on the shoulder of the center back. And at times they can check in, but with Healy and the other midfielders around them, like they don't really need to do that. So like the first couple of minutes, you see Isaac and like Nico just do a long ball in behind. And South Carolina defended it well for the first 10, but like any mistake, they would pounce on it. Or they would almost pounce on it. So like the duo consistently looked to spin off the back line. And they also pressed a lot, which I was impressed. Sometimes it was a little disconnected. But with that being said, if you have those 2 guys pressing you, like there's a possibility that the center back or the goalie will make a mistake, I would say we talked about how we were looking forward to seeing them combine together. I think they combine more with their outside 8. And I think, moving forward,
you're like talking about the center forwards and who they connect with the most.
Yeah. And it's
people to understand that for sure.
Yeah. And it's, I think the 8s, we talked about how the 4-4-2 diamond can be rigid, but I think the 8s were comfortable drifting wide and kind of playing as like a winger. And I think, when Justin McLean was on the right side and Thomas Lamelia, I could be mispronouncing that, so I'll call him Thomas. He's the St. John's 5th-year transfer for NC State. And we'll talk about him more, but very talented player. He played on the left side. So in the build-up, Thomas, Justin, and Healy would stay high. So in a way, it was like a 4-1-3-2. And Tyler Caton, the Missouri State CDM transfer, super talented player. He can hold that position in his own. So he doesn't really need that support. South Carolina kind of went man-on-man with Healy, Justin, and Thomas. And at times they would check in, and that they had pretty good success when it was timed right. But my whole point was if Justin or Thomas drifted wide to act as wingers, either Phillip or Conde would drift wide as well. And then that's when they would make triangles and Healy would come over. So they found success with that, but sometimes it also got disconnected because Phillip was on one side and Conde was on the other side, And again, it's the first game, so it's early on, so they're getting used to it. But I mean, after the first 15, I know we're talking about State right now, but South Carolina had some good passages of play with the 3-back system. And we'll talk about how the center backs pushed forward, which caused State some problems. But Tyler Caton was one that impressed me a lot. He was mobile with the ball. He kind of controlled play. South Carolina, the way they did it with the 3-5-2, Tyler Trimmel and Colin would take turns offsetting, but like that's a lot of work from them. So when they were late to that, Tyler did have success finding it and playing forward. I say the best early chances was just kind of scrappy chances of like long ball flicked on to one of the 9s. And yeah, honestly, the first goal, I can kind of talk about the main points. The first goal came in the 42nd minute, and it was on the right side. South Carolina had a giveaway. Tyler just got the ball, and Tay Healy was in a very good pocket, like he usually always is in transition moments. And I think that's when he thrives the most. Got the ball from Tyler outside the left foot pass to Phillip, spinning off the last shoulder of the defender, and Phillip calmly places it in the bottom left corner. And like, we've watched Phillip all summer. Like he did that finish so much. And I know we were talking about it, like State in a way looked more dangerous when they didn't have the ball, because we talked about how in the college game, it's very easy for the team in possession, when they feel comfortable with it, for that CDM to lose focus and drift and lose the marker of a talented and number 10 that's looking to break, like Healy. So like Healy knows he has defensive responsibilities, but he also knows the moment they lose it and I'm cheating in a good zone position of like going forward, especially with Phillip and Conde in front of him, it's game over. So that's exactly what happened. The South Carolina CDM was a little bit shifted wide, not the little silly giveaway. Healy's in like 10 yards of space now. He can do whatever he wants with it. So I think that's how the first goal came. So I know State likes to possess it, but that's also, a danger for other teams to know like that's what they can do super quickly.
Yeah, and I think, broad brush, college soccer, I think a lot of the attacks more so on transition are a little bit of a, maybe not full transition from straight up defensive third to attacking third, but even in that middle stage, the unexpected giveaways and capitalizing on that quickly is stuff that you see a lot of teams do, because, I'd have to really think about it, but teams that have to go up against a low block in the college game, it's not really, there's no program that I would say, maybe the comments can chime in if they think of them, but it's like teams are better in the situation that you have described across the board than they would be trying to pick apart a team that's defensively organized, because I would say when teams are set and they got bodies behind the ball, they can keep pressure out. You don't, obviously at the pro level, you see a lot of that, or a lot of teams, they can pick apart teams that will be sitting deeper. But yeah, same thing happened in the game that I watched, so we'll like circle back on some of that stuff.
No, and like, I do think the 4-4-2, like the players that he brought in, like Justin McLean, and you have Drew Leverett's returning, and Thomas from St. John's, it fits their mold of what Mark wants in the midfielders. Because all of those players are comfortable drifting wide. It's just getting that rotation down of, if Thomas drifts, then Healy shifts over, then Justin shifts over, and just kind of getting that tangent down. So it's kind of clockwork, and first half was back and forth. I think they both had moments of good possession. I think South Carolina respected State's ability to play, so they sat off, which gave Isaac and Nico, like, the confidence to drive forward. And I feel like at times they had too much time, if that makes sense, where like they had like, okay, do I drive? Do I stay? Do I play? With that being said, Thomas Lamalia from St. John's, very, very good player. He impressed me a lot. He played left side 8 in the first half, but at times, like I said, he would like spin off the right back and go in behind as like a left winger. He would come in. At times he did sit with Tyler, like when needed, when it kind of, the game got stretched, to kind of offer that composure. But he's just like a player where, like, we were talking about this, like sometimes less is more when you're scouting a player and like writing a description about a player. Like I could like write like a paragraph explaining using big words, like what he's good at, but like he's just a calming presence in the midfield, plays a simple pass, and like, he's just solid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he very much impressed me. And then second half, he then played right center back. So if you can have a 6'3" player who's able to play 8-6, even like inverted winger at times with the way they play, then right center back, that's just a football all around. And the second goal came in the 59th minute. It was a good team goal. Like this was probably the best passage of play they had. So Adam Abdul from Houston Dynamo Academy, he had some good moments when he came on as left back and right back. He played left back at this moment, and he switched it to Thomas as the right center back position. And this is when South Carolina kind of overcommitted, I would say. And then Thomas just calmly took a touch. Then he played Max Aguilar. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, but because South Carolina overcommitted, Max could just turn. And then, of course, with the nines, they're always looking to turn off the last shoulder and run. He then slid in Aiden Payne. Aiden Payne just held it up, crossed it to Drew, top of the box on the left side, touch out the foot, and finish up a 90. I couldn't get it on film, of course, but it was just a good play. It was just Adam to Thomas to Max to Aiden to Drew. And it was like 4 or 5 passes from one side to South Carolina's box. And second half, there was like line changes and a lot of different subs. And like second half was more not as exciting as the first half. And that's expected with freshmen coming on and new faces. But I will say that Aiden Payne could definitely be a good like last 10, 15-minute guy. I think he throws his body around. He's lengthy. He can move. He had like a couple really good chances all in the whole game, and he combined well with Carlos Santamaria as well that got subbed on. But yeah, like State just overall, like I think as an overall performance, it was solid, but I think they'll be more happy with the individual performances, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know?
and we've definitely covered the type of depth that they come into this year with, and we're not a big time prediction type podcast, but my brother wanted to chime in and said that his alma mater is going to win the ACC.
I mean, you never know.
They definitely have a good chance to do it because, like I said, I mean, the more and more you watch college soccer, the value of depth is so important if you're going to be challenging for titles, and I feel like they definitely have that.
Yeah.
With a lot of the guys they brought in, and yeah, what you said about, again, with the exhibitions, you're trying different groups of players. You're not seeing the final product yet. You're just it's good that a lot of the new guys are getting acclimated to the system.
So I think like overall, like on the ball, NC State looked composed in like the diamond, and I think they like to like kind of leave a gap within the midfield for those 8s and 10s to come in at the right moment. But I do think that's dangerous as well, because if they do come in, Tyler and the center backs, they're good enough to skip that midfielder and just go directly over the top, Yeah. And of course, like one thing I'll add offensively is like they're dangerous on quick throw-ins. There's 3 or 4 times they had very good chances, just not even like a set up, tactical long throw. It's just like someone gets it, boom, into the number 9, spin in the box, kind of all over the place, and skid it over, hit the bar. So that was 3 or 4 times where, like, if teams are sleeping, that's kind of a new meta to score in college soccer. I feel like long throws are just quick throws, because especially that you don't have to be offsides.
Yeah.
And I think defensively, of course, it's just the weak side is always going to be on because they're very narrow defensively. And I think that's what South Carolina exploited pretty well. And I think like that just comes, it's like, you have to give and take. Like they play a narrow formation. So I think they're okay with letting teams go back and forth. It just gets a little bit dangerous when it gets closer to your box. And, if the South Carolina's on the left side and they switch to the right side, if that left back is late to get there, it could be an overload and it could get a little bit dangerous,
Yeah, and I think there's so many teams out there that, regardless of the formation, they'll play tight together. Like they're a consolidated group. They don't want you to go through them. They'd rather you go around them.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of the theme. We'll get into my game eventually, but you see it all the time, and there are obviously a lot of teams that are coached to, maintain their togetherness. But yeah, I mean,
I think
I'm trying to think like if you had anything else for NC State.
I mean, like my best performer for State was definitely Thomas Lamelli. Again, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Very talented. I mean, everyone else had solid performances. It's just he stood out more in like his versatility and his composure. And of course, I can talk about like Philip and Conde because they were a handful. But in regards to like the eye test and what I saw, Thomas was very impressive. I mean, South Carolina, even though they lost 2-0, I think they have a lot of positives. I think they caused State problems with the fluidity within the midfield. They did a 3-5-2, but Cargill and Alex, the transfer from Marshall, they did a very good job interchanging and being fluid, which caused Healy some problems because Healy was sometimes alone on an island trying to get both of them. But like South Carolina looked best when they didn't skip that midfield zone, and like when they went from like back line to midfield to center back to wing back, slowly moving the whole team up. When it was done right, it was super fluid and looked good. But at times, if they try to skip the midfield zone, it got a little bit disconnected. I think Trimmel and Collin didn't have the most success because I don't think they had a lot of support around them. And I know we talked about this. The wingbacks a little bit more on the defensive side, which I get because you're playing against a team with a 2-striker system. But then again, it's a game of chances, and you have to kind of be a little bit more on the edgy side in regards to like maybe one of them is more of a natural winger and you let him cheat a little bit, But yeah, like I think that comes with time and finding the right personnel within that team. Like I said, midfield, very, very impressive. Ted Cargill and Alex impressed me a lot. Like I said, the fluidity within the midfield. They did one combination quite a lot when it was the Coker transfer. Yalvan Moletri. Again, sorry for the mispronunciation, but what they would do is the outside center back would either receive the ball, right? But as he's opening up to play the right wing back, and this was the Habel, he's like a veteran for them. He plays a wing back. Habel would drift in. Cargill will then drop as the right center back after Yavin would play a ball in. And it was kind of like a 3-man rotation, which cost State some problems. But what I was impressed that the back line wasn't afraid to continue the run after playing. So a couple of times you would see Cargill or Alex kind of drop it as a center back and let their outside center back step up. And I think NC State didn't track those runners, and South Carolina found success breaking through from that. And it's basically like the center back would go as a right back, CDM would come as a center back, and then wing back would become a midfielder. And it sounds like a lot when you say it, but it's just like a 3-man rotation. But I feel like if they could get that rotation, of course, not the center back in NC State's attacking half, but with the 9 and wing back and attacking mid, they could be a little bit more dangerous. But with that being said, they have like so much talent where when it clicked, it looked really good,
Yeah. And I feel like the 3 center back systems across the board, in my opinion, especially because it worked. There's a few points to make here. I guess firstly, 3 center backs versus 2 strikers is like ideal for me. Like when I coach, I make sure my teams, because I haven't had the luxury of coaching or inheriting the best team in the conference, so it's like for high school, so it's like, well, we have to be able to counteract some of the like better teams out there. But having 3 center backs and 2 strikers, 2 of those guys can be more focused on managing those strikers, and then the other ones just kind of like on high alert, watching for any long balls. But when they go up against teams that really only have the 1 striker, it's a lot of bodies back there to just be covering one guy.
Yeah.
So like what you're saying, when you can get a center back, because I think Bigar can do that too.
Yeah, and he did that a couple times as well.
Yeah, like when they're in possession and they start to like fan out a little bit and they're passing along the back. If there's opportunities for one of those center backs, and we see it so many times in the modern game, center backs advancing with the ball, head up, looking, scanning, making like adding an additional their number to the midfield.
Yeah,
being unmarked for the most part is, or like can give some good opportunities. And then, depending on how the sequence develops, they can kind of stay in their position in the midfield and just kind of like slowly drift back to their normal spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, advancing center backs, it's something that happens all the time in the pros. And I think teams that have the opportunity to do that, it can definitely help out in their build up. And
I mean, like the buildup was solid when it worked. I think the next phase, of course, it's early on. It's just kind of having the wingbacks more involved when they get their like in possession shape in states or the opposing team attacking third, and just getting more support around those nines, whether it's Alex joining in as an 8 to like in the possession shape, or maybe playing a winger in that wingback role. And again, it's a trade-off at the end of the day, because if that wingback isn't comfortable defending, then that's maybe a liability. But I look at like UNCG in 2020 when they defended in 4 but built in 3. Creighton when they made that Final Four run. Syracuse when they won the national championship. All these teams played and built in a 3-back, but their wingbacks were so attacking. And I think a lot of them, they were solid defensively, but they also had the mindset that if you score 4 goals, we'll score 5 goals. And again, some coaches might be like, no way, like we want to win 1-0. But then again, like it just depends on what you want, but that could be a trade-off that's worth it in the long run, not just for South Carolina, but for any team, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like traditionally, well, in that system, especially watching a few of their games last year, like I do like this setup. It just comes down to, like you're saying, I think maybe a little bit more, not carelessness, but some fire early on. I think they'd be fantastic front runners. Like I don't see them giving up.
Plus the
leads.
back line, sorry to interrupt you. The back line's athletic enough to handle that. Now, again, if it's a conference semifinal or final and you're up against a 2-man striker system, I get it, right? But if it's in season and you're feeling confident, like leave your 3 center backs on an island and just back them. Yeah. Of course, if they concede, then they don't like it.
And again, in a 3v2, you know, obviously this is one of the better striker pairings that they'll see early on, because obviously a lot of teams just play a different system. But like, I don't know, I back my guys if we're in a 3v2 centrally.
And again, it's easier said than done. But
yeah, like I don't know how. So this was a coaching question for you. Like before every game, if I knew how the opposition lined up, I would do or show the overlapping formations and basically draw a dotted line around who has who.
Yeah.
Who is your personal defensive responsibility?
Yeah.
And like I said, I always want one free center back, whether it's 2 center backs on 1 striker or 3 center backs on 2 strikers. And I'm fine at the other end of the field letting a center back go up, or letting their center back pairing go up against my 1 striker.
Yeah.
Like I'm fine with that.
No.
But like in this, I'll bring it back up here. In this matchup, like Hobble and Adi should technically be responsible for Moritz, Weber, and Kalen Tommy.
Yeah.
So to be a little bit like, if we're in the attacking half, and we're talking from the Gamecocks perspective, like as long as you're not getting burned by those 2, feel free to hang out.
In a way, the in possession,
we can win the ball higher.
In a way, go
for it. No,
in a way, like I would want those guys in line with Kong and Trimmel to make a front 4, push bigger and Marshall a little up, have Velasquez as that free roaming, and if worse comes to worse, you move Alex deeper. So it's like a 3-2-1-4. And again, like in the game, it's gonna be fluid and not exactly that. But to your point, like if they win it up there, it's gonna be a quick transition. And of course, if they lose it, it's gonna be a big transition back. But when you have that front 4, it's gonna occupy State's back 4, and then they're gonna drop deep, which makes Donovan and Conde drop deep, which now your in possession shape is just on top of them. Again, we're doing like what ifs if it's a perfect situation. It's never going to be a perfect situation. But what we're saying is like when I used to play, it was always difficult to play a back 3 with the wing backs were on top of my defensive right back and left back. Because if that's the case and the opposition center back's driving, my wing back who's defending or outside back can't step, because if they step, that wing back's now one-on-one with my center back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like while three back can be defensive, I think you can use it to your advantage offensively. And they have a technical enough midfield to like control the game with those guys really high, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, like overall, I think a lot of good, like they look solid build up. It's just the next phase is adding that in. I think defensively, they gave South Carolina a lot of respect. So at times they're a little pinned back. I think they found the most success with the last 20 when they just kind of pressed and didn't really care. And they had some good opportunities from that. Same thing with offensively, like having your wing backs high. If you get burnt in behind, it could be difficult. But like you said, if you back your back three with how athletic they are and the IQ, it shouldn't be an issue. With that being said, I think both teams like looked solid and some stuff to build on, but also a lot of some questions were answered, but also other questions came up in regards to the better personnel, who fits what, you know. So I think overall it was good, and it's going to be good to see because they're competing in ACC, the best conference, and Sunbelt arguably the second best conference or third best. So like for them to play each other early on is really good for the staff and the players to like really like, okay, this is an intense game. So that overall, that's kind of all I have to say about that.
Yeah. And I feel like it's kind of a trend. A lot of top teams that they want, it's almost like they want their first exhibition game to be the probably the most difficult in terms of the quality of opponent, and then the second one is it's like we just need to be thrown into the fire here and see and learn what we don't know yet.
Would teams like
And
to do
then
that?
yeah,
Yeah, like teams like to play a really good team and a not so good team and just run up the score just to get your 9 confidence, which I back. Like
yeah,
that's low key a good idea. I'm not gonna lie, but
yeah, because you definitely want to make it meaningful in some way. And if you're not learning anything, just to like say you won some exhibition games, like
yeah,
come on. But yeah, we'll move into Clemson versus Charlotte. So funny thing, I actually went to the exhibition last year of the same matchup. Clemson visited Charlotte last year, 1-0 for Clemson. This time Charlotte goes down to Clemson and ends up winning 3-2. And apologies to any of the Charlotte players if I got it wrong. There were a couple either jersey swaps or guys that weren't yet added to the website, but I think I got them right. Yeah, dueling 4-2-3-1s, and it's some. I think yeah, last year it was the same exact way. So I think a lot of the early notes here, it was an opportunity to see what life is like after the Gerbet era of Clemson. So Mason Jimenez was partnered with Kwaku Agibang, a freshman from Ghana, and I actually thought he played really well to get his feet wet against a team that is traditionally hard to break down. If we recall last year, Charlotte was one of the best performing defenses in the country. Obviously, a lot of them have moved on, if not most of the starters, because Lasse Larson, Ian Pilcher, Daniel Moore, Ryan Dunn, and then even a couple of the midfielders ahead of him. Lukas Husakuski, he's obviously since left, but Ben Fisher steps back in. Kind of a veteran pairing for them in the midfield with Dare McCarthy. My attempt at a Irish accent there. Yeah, I think last thing I'll say, I actually took video for this, and I kind of merged it together. So we'll talk about what happened in the game while we kind of watch the game. But the same formation duel, it's 3 midfields versus 3 midfields. I think a lot of the game, with it being so congested in the middle, a lot of the build up was along the sides for both teams. But yeah, I think that's setting the table at least. I'll pull up the video here. Early on, it was a lot of Charlotte ended up winning a lot of fouls, so we open with the first free kick They actually had another one from the same area a few moments later. But some winning or the ball won back from Remy. And this is a passage of play, so just trying to see like some of the passing sequences here. So Nathan Richmond's back. That was a great thing to see. And
Yeah.
here's the young freshman here, recycling and enforcing shift. Another loose ball pickup by Remy.
Remy and
And
Richmond, that'll be a good combination to look for.
yeah, and I'll definitely be pointing out a few of Remy's great passes here. Um, Part of me, I mean, last year we saw it. Like Clemson doesn't really like to cross the ball unless it is coming from one of the outside backs. So I don't know if like how much. I mean, these two know each other from like the exhibition, and then they played in the NCAA tournament, I think 2 years ago. So they know the systems. Here's some of the like loose ball pickups, and I will say for this particular possession, because I saw it on both sides. When you have two sixes and most of the play is kind of focused through one of those two, I view that. I would like to see both players get on the ball, and this is one of those opportunities where McCarthy. I'm sure Fisher is screaming for it here. He's standing right next to the referee. He's got acres of space. He doesn't actually end up going there, but that could have been one of those like interior advancements rather than both sides like Clemson would have been itching for that. Like if that's Ransford sitting there, that's a turn and drive and putting the team on their back foot. But
And just
evidently,
and like we talked about this, like this is a good it was more in the midfield, but this is exactly how State scored their first goal. So like Tyler would have the ball right here. Healy would probably be like 5 more yards behind the like in line with the ref, but behind it. So in that midfield zone, and then he got the ball, and he like Philip would be where Dennis is, but 2 more yards to the right, but on the center back. And it happened within like a second. It went Tyler, Healy, Philip, boom. But I think that's where having that, like I said, that six that is always kind of looking to play that forward pass, especially if you have a weak side six or a 10 or a winger inverting. You know, Dennis isn't the quickest, but I bet in that transition moment he would back himself to go, you know?
yeah, yeah, and I'll also say like obviously this is not a knock on the center midfield pairing of
No,
Charlotte.
not
I
at
thought
all.
they really have a good presence to them, and they definitely force teams to find an alternate route than trying to go through those two. So
Yeah.
I added this one in for McCarthy because I thought his kind of ball recovery and just kind of reading the flow of the game and popping up in these spots um, was really good to see. And, obviously filling in some shoes is needed. But yeah, it turns away and back into the same area, which, again, Ben's got to be screaming there. Another in possession, just kind of showing the flow here. A lot of passing along the back, trying to find avenues forward. And again, like the combinations on the side channels were more effective for both teams, but obviously Clemson's pedigree in passing, like super clean touch by Ransford, tries to slide it, but just too compact for that Charlotte back line. That's just kind of what they do. So on the other side of things, this is Charlotte's possession stream. Um, Again, patient. Not like it's almost like they're neither team is well, especially Charlotte. They aren't really looking. I wish they would have. Like I'm a Natsuki Ogata fan, and I felt like they couldn't find him the ball enough for my liking. So that'll be something that I hope they can spark his influence because I do think he is a very talented attacking midfielder. Um, so that was, I'll pause it there. That sequence led to this foul, and this is where we get our first goal on a set piece. And I believe it's Evangelou who scores this. Um, Good little glancing deflection touch. That really, I think, I mean, it sparked Clemson's barrage of few of their next chances here. So Musa on the break. We'll give Richmond a pass on that. I think that was his first shot for quite some time. So he ends up scoring eventually. Spoiler alert. But yeah, it's good to see him back. I think he's such an impact player for them and much needed. And again, more of these like overloads on the outsides. That pass by Remy is one of the ones I was talking about. Not just a crosser. That's why he's one of my favorite service guys. And dialing in that cross going forward. Just the foul that leads to Nathan Richmond's goal. Uncharacteristically sloppy, clearing this out for Charlotte, but Richmond pounces 1-2. I will actually say, because the second goal it was the first for Denis Gruchenkov. I didn't get it, like I got the shot on video, but not what led up to it because it was just such against the run of play. So I guess I'll walk through that because I think at this point it's 2-1. Dennis is up there just kind of pressing some of the defensive back line. And what you kind of mentioned earlier, I don't think anybody is like expecting Dennis to have lights out pace, but he's such a smart and like clever player. With all the fouls that he was winning by back to goal, posting up on the defender and using his body, I have a clip at the very end, but he was definitely helping the build out by earning fouls. But then also on the pressing side, maybe it's because he's unassuming that like, he's gifted in terms of like finding the net. Like it was outside the 18 on the left side of the 18-yard box. And though he takes the ball off Andema, even to like most strikers out there, I'm not even sure if they would have been able to score that goal. But he's just got a really good eye for it, and the way he can dial in the type of chance no matter what the angle. Because I do have his second goal, and it was kind of a similar thing. Not in the defensive giveaway, but more so the finding the net in tricky areas. Leo Stritter, comfortable catch.
This was silky from him.
Yeah, I love that's part of it too. Is like, and again, like they go away from having a kind of that lone deep lying playmaker that was so effective, and I think it's effective for any team that can have that type of player. As he matures, he'll be kind of the next one. I actually think that he, depending on how the season goes, I know this is just exhibition, his first touches on the ball at the level, but definitely could be a all freshman team watch list guy.
And that passage of play, that was 3 passes and they were in top of the box in Charlotte's area. Just shows how like Clemson always plays expensive, so they could get countered, of course, but they take their bets because they're so talented. It takes 2 or 3 passes for them to go to the opposite side,
Yeah. Yeah, and this passage right here, it was a long ball from Guion to, I think it was Musa. But on the transition, I think that's where Clemson can be successful going forward. It's like quick, ball over the top, you have pace. It brings the defensive back line along with whoever that runner is. But if you can have trailing midfielders advance quicker than their opponent midfielders, and then like this chance right here, Musa, I didn't see who it was, but tees up one of those later arriving midfielders. So I think opposition midfielders will have to keep track of that. We'll break up this part right here to bring in this comment. Atlanta United keeping tabs on Remy. I mean, I feel like they're an organization that keeps tabs on the guys that they do have, especially in the ACC, because, bringing back Edwards, Will Riley wasn't always in the ACC, but they obviously brought him back in. I personally rate Remy quite a bit. Obviously, I picked him for our ACC preview team.
You guys didn't even. I lost that vote, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, I had to get a couple buddies to help me out there.
Fair play.
No, and I think this is like a decent point too. Is like, me and Dylan, we joke about this all the time. It's like, the players we just like because of what they show on the field.
Yeah.
The impression we get of how they are as teammates to one another. But yeah, like, we don't just cover guys that we have relationships with. If you're playing well, we're gonna try to show you and give you your kudos. But yeah, we'll do one quick break too. Todd Lewis, fresh off his podcast.
That's a second compliment for sure. Your ego better not get too big right now.
Dude, I'm just trying to. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna wear next. It was between this or my Jaranger Bay, Orlando City jersey, but just because we've been talking about them a lot. But anyway,
I think to answer back to the question, like, I'm not speaking for you, but I think a lot of these organizations keep tabs on the academy players, especially when they go to the bigger schools like the ACC, Big Ten, Sun Belt. And like I said, like with Edwards especially, like he kind of did his time at UNC and performed well, and he got rewarded by like getting signed again for the second team.
Yeah.
And I feel like even if these teams don't have the best scouting infrastructure in regards to like the number of scouts, I do think they the soccer world's so small where it only takes a couple phone calls and a couple videos to get passed along to be like, oh, he's doing really well, or, oh, he's all freshman team. So word definitely gets around. With that being said, I don't know if you have anything to add about that, but I just feel like, what we hope for is if you play at a high level and you're performing, you will get found. Whether you're homegrown or whether you have connections to an MLS academy or you don't, like that's hopefully like the whole point of college soccer.
Yeah. And I mean, the only other thing to add, I guess, is, the major influx of MLS Next Academy guys or guys that have played in Next Pro already before they even become freshmen. It's like half of these incoming classes for recruiting are MLS Next experience. So, and I guess if you've ever been out to GA Cup or Next Fest or all these tournaments, it's like a sea of college logos everywhere. They're always sending coaches and stuff. So yeah, it's a player pool that the relationships between the college coaches and the organizations and all these guys are getting pitched all the time to like try to get their. We'll be covering a lot of it when we get to the Big Ten. But yeah, even organizations making sure that their guys are going to the right style of program with the right coaches that they trust, because how many guys actually do go back to their teams and send homegrowns at the end of college? It's prevalent. So you don't want to be wasting people's time being in the wrong program or, stuff like that. But
I'm liking the active chat today. This is like the first time where like people are actually saying stuff, which is nice.
Yeah, I think we're at 4.
Well, hey, now that I said that, no one's going to say anything, so I jinxed it. You don't want Musa on the counter like this, especially with like.
And obviously, this led to one of the good chances last time, but yeah, him on the break was definitely happened more than once.
Questionable offsides, but it happens.
Yeah, like to start the break on the left, as all the bodies come back, and maybe I guess you can accuse people of ball watching. I don't know, but yeah, to start it on the left and then wind up on the back post on the right, and for a sneaky back post header, crafty.
And that's why I drafted him.
I'd make sure that stuff would get shut down. Musa dangerous again in space with the cross. Believe this is Sevian, their Colorado Gatorade player player of the year, who came in midfielder, this blonde freshman.
He kind of added a spark, like you were saying, right?
Yeah, he definitely wanted to show that he was willing to work, and I think that right here, little back heel, whoops. So yeah, he even was feeling a little bit of flair there, which is cool to see from a incoming freshman.
That's what you want to see, though. You want to see a freshman that's fearless, and of course, like, does the work, defends, and makes the right decisions, but also like express himself in the right moments.
Yeah, and that was I definitely wanted this one, and this was one of the best run of play goal chances for Charlotte. That slip ball, nearly. And this, I think, this goalkeeper just came on and was called upon to make that save from 6 yards out. So the Polish winger freshman on the break, nice little through ball, cut back from Dennis. He does have very close control. I like that about Dennis as well.
Yeah.
Some more attacking movement. Believe this, it doesn't end in a shot, but yeah, whoever number 11 was for Charlotte, again, he could be on the roster and just wearing a different jersey, but
for the scout,
there were a few of these plays that he had that, cutting that out. He looked composed and confident on the ball. Little breakout stuff here, earns a foul. Here's a really good goal chance for Dennis. Showing the wheels. He's like, I heard you guys talking. Barely wide. But yeah, he ends up getting his game winner here. And again, like, two guys just roofs it.
And he also doesn't need a lot of his time. Like, he does a lot of snapshots, which is dangerous because, like, as a defender, you're trying to get it. But, like, if you don't see that extending of the foot, you might not be, like, willing to try to block it. And he's very good at just, like, not even needing a yard of space, but just like a quick little shot when you least expect it.
Definitely a snapshot.
And he's massive, so it's a strong shot still.
Yeah, because I feel like that is a skill that people don't often talk about, is like those little snapshots.
Yeah.
And here, this just kind of ices the game with 30 seconds to go, but I wanted to throw this in here just because it kind of speaks to the mental side for Dennis. So on these balls out, he can serve as this target. He knows he's about to get hit there, so kind of stops short and takes the contact and doesn't lose the ball, and they're on to their 3-2 exhibition win. Let's say players for me that impressed. I did like the center midfield pairing in terms of protecting the back line for Charlotte. So that's McCarthy and Fisher. I would like to see more creativity going forward. Obviously, it's a tough opponent, and it's early in the season. But yeah, trying to get Ogata more involved in that central build-up. Clemson, Kuaku, tongue twisters, man.
Yeah, no, it's tough. I can't even.
Agibang, freshman, thought he played well.
Yeah.
Wahabu, obviously, and obviously Remy for quite a few of those passes and even some of those defensive cutouts. But shifting gears and shifting focus, we can move to the Big Ten Conference. gonna rehash and kind of summarize some of the posts that we had. Um, One of the things that I love about the Big Ten, every team plays each other,
Yeah, that's
so you
cool.
get a real sense of who is the best in that conference. Because that's my only knock on the ACC. Obviously, it's a bigger conference than the Big Ten, but it's like every other year you're playing half the opponents, and they're different than the ones that you had previously. And just with the amount of turnover on rosters, like you never really get a true gauge. But obviously, I will say the ACC tournament is kind of that part where it's like we'll find out who the best is.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you got to make it through that. So I do like that about the Big Ten. Um, and as you can see here over the past 4 years, there's just a lot of movement. Like 2022, just point out some examples here. First place Maryland goes to dead last in 2023. The only team out of these full list that ever finished in the top four over the past 4 years is Indiana. Goes without saying. But like the up and down movement from year to year is one of the cool things as like an unaffiliated fan, because you're
Yeah.
like just coming up with all these scenarios in your head on like who can compete this year.
Hmm.
Statistically, a team or any team that finishes in the bottom half one year will be in the top half the next year.
I mean, look at Ohio State, like
Yeah.
2021 to 2022. It's like a zigzag.
Yeah. And even like Northwestern is one of those examples from 2022, second to last. And then they're 1 point off of challenging for the regular season title in 2023. And we'll kind of talk about, I guess the last note for this, I found it interesting. But in 2023, it's not a mistake. Only Indiana was representing the Big Ten and the
That's when,
NCAA
yeah,
tournament.
that's I was playing at the time, and some of the group chats were going wild because it's like Penn State
Yeah, Penn
should
State
have
had a
gone
great team.
in, Northwestern should have gone in. So I remember like watching it with my boys, and then after the fact, like they knew players on the team, and it was like, I mean, you Penn State coming in second in the Big Ten Conference in 2023 and not getting a bid. I don't
While
really care.
having the offensive player of the year in the Big Ten and the
Yeah, and
defensive
it's
player
like
of the year. It's like,
yeah, like I
wow.
get like RPI rankings and all that stuff matters, but like you can't have one team in from the Big Ten to represent the conference and the NCAA tournament, especially that Penn State was able to get 14 points and Northwestern was get 13 points within the conference.
Yeah.
Like, and I know you have to get teams from all over and travel and all that, but I don't really like that shouldn't be an excuse not to pick them.
Yeah. But fortunately, Big Ten fans in our last season, 6 teams made it. So an overcorrection.
Maybe they're like,
But
maybe this time around we change it up a little bit,
no,
right,
but like
guys?
I feel like
Oh yeah,
even you see like Michigan and UCLA, obviously the conference has changed with the addition of Washington and UCLA, but
yeah,
it's just adding more teams with pedigree into an
yeah.
already strong conference. So, yeah, like Michigan had a great season
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, and we'll get into like, might as well move into it right
Let's
now.
move into right now. Let's do it.
Yeah, like defensively, I a lot of people might not know this, but I do love defense. And looking at, so when I posted this, I guess one of the notes is these two teams finished highest in the Big Ten last year on the amount of matches where they conceded 1 goal or less. So I worded it wrong in the post, but I hope everyone understood what I meant. So 16 out of the 19 games that Michigan played was either clean sheet or 1 goal against. And that sets up your offense pretty well. Unfortunately, they have struggled offensively, so um, yeah, two in conference wins. Um, and there's another point to make about this too. It's just talking about stats and stuff. I'm trying to scroll down here. Like they had a couple outlying results that really threw off their goals against average, but if you take out 2 of those 19 games, like they're one of the best performing defenses, even in the national picture, in terms of goals against. And it's just some things that, like, if you are looking at the NCAA website and you're like, oh, who are the best defenses? You actually gotta like look at the schedule
Yeah.
to kind of figure that out, because like one game can just throw off all that
Yeah.
hard work and you're just kind of almost forgotten about.
Mm-hmm.
But don't worry, guys. We have 3 other teams as well outside of this graphic. I do want to give shout outs to great team defenses. But yeah, I mean, look at the amount of experience that the Michigan backline has. And for those who don't know, and Gray, this is some more MLS stuff for you, but Matthew Fisher, Sporting Kansas City, Will Baker, FC Dallas, Nolan Miller, Columbus Crew, and Patrick O'Toole came in from it's an affiliate academy of New York Red Bulls, and then Isaiah Goldson is Toronto FC. And all of them have started since their freshman year. And, you know, following them through the years, I think any of the MLS clubs that are looking at colleges and what they hope for some of their academy grads are examples like this. Like early minutes, a lot of experience. You get to see them mature and develop. And lo and behold, they're one of the better defensive units in the conference and also arguably in the nation. But my brother's a lot smarter than this, but really stupid question. But who knows? Maybe he is a descendant of Juan Ponce de Leon. A little history lesson for everybody. Yeah, same story for Northwestern. They're returning a lot of the guys. Everybody knows Nigel Prince. He's been a standout ever since joining. Pretty sure he's also been one of those guys that's been starting since a freshman.
Yeah.
Dimas Vanderheide comes in. I expect him to take over for Brant Meyer's brother, Reese, who has left, graduated. And, yeah, Dimas, FC Cincinnati, and Heerenveen over in the Netherlands, the U19 team. So he comes in, big body, 6'5". Yeah, I think he'll add quite a bit in terms of not falling off from what was a good defensive year last year. Fritz, everybody kind of knows him as well. Yeah, see, because Remy, Nigel Prince, yeah, I mean, the academy for Atlanta is definitely doing some good work.
Yeah.
The type of players that they're producing. Before we'll let you get back into some airtime here, because we'll go into the other 3.
Yeah.
But Indiana is one of those 3 other teams that I wanted to highlight defensively. Obviously, 2 of the 4, and well, if you include the goalie or goalkeeper, 3 out of the 5 won't be returning. So Josh Mayer and Alex Barger are the ones returning. Victor Akum obviously is somebody that we saw quite a bit for Vermont Green.
That'll be a good pickup, especially like you said, the outgoing players. They do kind of need that leadership player and role, and I think he could. Like, I mean, he comes from an ACC powerhouse in Virginia, so I'm not really the coaching staff and the players don't have to worry about his level and his like mindset, you know.
Yeah, especially being a Whitecaps guy as well. But yeah, I mean, Indiana will obviously be a contender again. They always are. But even with Patrick McDonald, Jansen Miller, JT Harms, Quentin Elliott, Sam Sarver, Tommy Mihalik, Justin Weiss, all those guys go pro. That's like most of your lineup.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And, just when you think that Todd Yeagley and his staff, how can they recover? Yet again, they recovered from those losses, and it's another great recruiting year, which, makes them a favorite for the top. They bring in Colton Swan from Colorado Rapids too. He's actually was like quite recognized early on in the next pro season for the type of games that he was having. Palmer Alt, who was drafted by the Rapids a couple years ago.
I know he had like an injury, but he's someone that can like turn a game on its head. He's very talented, whether it's a wing or as an attacking mid. So it'll be cool to see him and Swan kind of combine, especially that Alt a little bit older. So like that leadership and kind of showing Swan the way college soccer is played,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think long term Palmer feels more like an 8-10.
Yeah.
In like kind of one of those package 3 midfielders, where he's not obviously the deep line guy, but one of those 8s because
to work off each other.
Yeah, he can drive or like turn and drive. Like if he were to pick up the ball off of the defensive back line, he can turn, move, and progress. Like he's definitely got the skill set. Cristiano Berletti, another Atlanta United guy, he's made his rounds. Started with South Carolina, went up to Michigan State. Now he's here in Indiana. And that's something about even just like the coaching thing. Teams that they have a philosophy, they have a style of play, they have position profiles of what type of attributes we need at these positions. So year after year, I feel like that's what Indiana does. They have, one of our 2 in the double pivot need to have these 5 characteristics. And then they go out and find it. And I think, you see it with Palmer Alt, will take over at the attacking midfield. Bruletti, same thing, fits the role. Bendo, same thing.
Yeah, they don't mess around. Like they know what they want and they go and get it. As simple as that.
Yeah, and they just don't really skip a beat. Let's see if there was anything else in there. Just looking through our notebook. Yeah, Michel in goal.
Yeah.
That's another Vermont Green guy, 6'5", just a huge dude.
Yeah.
Thought he played well over the summer. Left early to join the team, so he's definitely been around the facilities. 2 returners, I think, with expanded roles will be Michael Nesci, obviously, and Charlie Hoyer. Yeah. 4 goals each. Relatively limited minutes, but, it's what's to be expected for a lot of freshmen out there. But good thing about Nesci is 9 goals with Sueño FC this summer. To challenge Minneapolis for the top spot. But yeah, you love to see that, like, especially for the goal scoring side. Guys developing form over the summer and trying to bring that into the fall, especially for an attacking, ambitious team. And Collins Odoro will also prove that, as he usually does.
It looks like a solid group, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Especially with the experience on the bench. Like you said, like limited minutes, but that's a 1 year under the belt, 1 season under the belt. So you can expect them to be some super subs.
Yeah. And, they got a packed schedule too, so.
Yeah, which is sick. Like home at Clemson will be a big one already.
Yeah. Opening with Clemson, it's a bold move. See if it pays off.
I
do respect it. So, yeah, we covered Indiana there. 2 of the other. So, this group of 3 is different. Obviously, if you concede, or if this one is less than a goal a game conceded in Big Ten regular season, or 1 goal. They average 1 goal against. And unlike Indiana, Washington, and Michigan State are returning the majority of their defensive back lines. And again, we've talked in depth about University of Washington.
Yeah, we've talked about them a good amount.
Yeah, so we won't get into too much there, but yeah, obviously with Chris Myers and God, who played right back last year? Why am I blanking?
I'm blanking
Anyway,
too.
yeah, but
No, but the youth is coming in. Gabe Fernandez, Alex Hall, like we've talked about them with Vermont. They've showed great quality, and like I said, like they didn't play the most minutes, but I think they can take the momentum that they have in the summer and carry it over. Like I said, Alex Hall is going to have some veterans in front of him on the right side, so I'm not too worried about that. And because as a young player going into a second year, not playing the most, at time it can be a little bit naive. With that being said, he has a good group of players around him this summer and going into Washington, so I'm definitely excited to see what they can do because they're super talented.
yeah, and that right flank is going to be a handful for people if Alex Hall does move in there. I will note, mistake, Alex Hall's a sophomore, but that goes without saying.
Yeah.
Last little note here on Michigan State. Richie Ludwig, obviously, I just threw him in here because I think in when they do 3 center backs, he sometimes, I think, went in as a right wing back, but he's a natural right winger.
Yeah.
With the departure of Jonathan Stout, I fully expect Ludwig to be up in the right wing position, and he's the only one returning out of the 3 guys that scored 2 or more goals. So they'll be counting on him to help with the goal threat because 14 goals for, that's got to improve.
Yeah.
No offense, but
no, it is.
I mean, we see it around the country. A lot of teams do put up really good defensive performances, and it just, they need some of that help on the other ends.
Yeah.
Midfield should be strong again. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do. And Will Eby, player to watch.
Yeah.
Love his left foot. Good ball moving defender. Let's look at a challenger here in Maryland.
That's a dangerous front 4, like offer up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Maryland definitely have some experience with the effect that Stefan Njike provides because he had a goal and an assist against Maryland last year with Long Island. He was just a handful that whole game. So I think Sasha was probably like, I'm glad we don't have to ever play against him again, and we can now use him to spark our attack. Masareka, another dangerous, quick-footed winger. And Griffith, I'll say, he's definitely not shy in taking his chances, and I do like the activity that he provides at the 9 position because he'll move side to side and find space to work in. And I think with NGK and Masareka, guys that are athletic and can flow around with that front 3, if they're unleashed and they're given some freedom to operate against the opponent back line, can definitely be creative and dangerous.
Experienced team too.
Yeah,
like a lot of older senior players, a couple sophomores in there, but definitely a team to look out for like that. And Big Picada, we talked about him. And like
Yeah.
Picada, like him playing those through balls too, the wingers and Griffith taking those chances in the box. It's it's like an old school 4-2-3-1, like his classic wingers holding the touchline, going at the defenders, and it's going to be fun to watch them for sure because that's a dangerous team.
Yeah, and they even brought in one of the best names probably in all college soccer, Rocket Rita.
Rocket Rita, yeah.
Yeah, so
That's good to know. I didn't had
yeah. Yeah, and even I actually haven't, if my union buddies are still in the chat, if they know Henry Bernstein from Philadelphia Union Academy, I actually forgot to ask my buddies what they thought of him.
And we've seen like Maryland isn't afraid to put young talent on there. So like great point about Rocket and these guys, like they will get chances. And if they get hot, they're going to continue playing. So
because same thing with Jace Clark. Like I thought he played pretty well for a freshman, and then I mean they have an experienced center midfield pairing, so the core itself can radiate kind of their experience and guidance to some of the younger guys that come in. The other team, I didn't do a team sheet, but I did want to talk about UCLA because, I mean, they'll be one of the, if we talk, obviously we opened the show with Donovan Phillip and Ibrahim Condé, but like the attacking duo or trio that UCLA will have this year with Sergi Solans and Oliver Roche, and then newcomer Francis Bonsu, who is one of those guys that before going into college played in the summer with Hudson Valley Hammers, New York Gatorade Player of the Year, pacey young forward. He'll be joining in that fold. They also, I mean, that's a team that lost, I think, a lot of their back line. So they brought in actually one of the most notable wing backs that's in a kind of the mid majors. Schindler.
And they've had success in the past with wingbacks with the Davidson left back.
Yeah.
I forgot his name, but he's with New York
Nico
City now too.
Yeah,
like Nico. So
yeah,
like they usually pick right in the transfer portal UCLA, and like that front three. I know they usually do like a one striker system sometimes too, but I mean they have the top ranked recruiting class in 2025. So some local products as well as some like cross country players. But that's a team. It's so funny. It's like all these like Ohio State, Rutgers, a cold area. Then you have UCLA just in LA. So that's always a tough trip to go there for sure with the time change and everything. But that's a team that when they do play on it and like everything's clicking, it's a dangerous team. And it'll be cool to see how like Oliver combines with Sergio, because both tall, lengthy, good IQ, to see how they combine,
Yeah. So they're definitely going to be challenging in my opinion, because obviously we've seen it in the Big Ten. If you can score goals like the way Indiana and Maryland and obviously Ohio State last year, I mean, that's the key to success. And obviously it's easier said than done, is scoring a ton of goals. But, UCLA have gone out and got one of the best striker prospects that you could go for. And I think there's more to see from Oliver Roche.
Yeah.
He can play off to the right. So, yeah, and I do want to say also, I'm not sure, like, who knows what the plans are in terms of, like, how the midfield will look, but Zach Mastrodemos, highly regarded among the Philadelphia Union staff. He also is is an incoming freshman at UCLA. So that would be an interesting one. But yeah, I wanted to bring up Mimi for you, because he's another one of those guys known for mazy runs.
I know, dude. I love some mazy runs. Like
we know like that you do.
Yeah, like on paper for sure. If we're talking about paper and accolades and players, UCLA, Maryland, and Indiana are definitely like catch the eye. With that being said, you have like, anything can happen in the Big Ten as we've seen from the standing. So it'll be interesting to see how the first couple games go and just go from there. Like a good, yeah, it's just gonna be interesting, especially when the travel hits, because a lot of these games are flights.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll like kind of speed round through the rest, but um, Ohio State, not sure where they go from here. Losing Mac Herman Trophy winner Michael Adedukin, then Ziggy Magnuson, David Verona. I thought the amount of work that he did in the midfield for them
Yeah,
was huge. And obviously David Ajagby is with Portland now, Anthony Samways, Parker Grinstead, and Dylan Velios. Those are a lot of like big names to not come into 2025 with. He showed up on the watch list, but I mean he's kind of a household name by now. But Luciano Bacota, one of
yeah,
my favorite players to watch. Marko Borkovic also I think is a dangerous player. Ashton Billow, those three, they'll need to help drive that team a little bit.
yeah. That'll be the core.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, we forgot to say about Northwestern, they will in fact have. They'll be crossing their fingers that this new crew of attackers coming in will help them out. Everybody knows Seth Malmeister. He should be given the number 9 shirt. I didn't check this morning to see if they added him to the website, but as far as I know, he's still planning on going.
Yeah,
Bringing in Trey Barrett, kind of burst onto the scene with Lions Bridge before he joins William and Mary last year. Continued to impress there. I do like Trey and his ability and what he can bring. Alejandro Martinez Santamaria, first team All Horizon League with Milwaukee, 9 goals, 4 assists in 1,400 minutes. Omar Jallo, crafty winger, good on the dribble, Drexel kid. So they bring in 4 guys that, with the intention of we gotta help out our defense here and start getting up more goals. And yeah, they're definitely looking to make that push and be one of those teams that move from the bottom to the top.
yeah.
And I think this is the year to do it, with obviously Nigel Prince being a senior.
I agree. I think
Do we have some off the top of our head with pro potential?
I mean, I would say that Michigan back 4 in regards to second team looks for sure. Like I think those MLS teams are keeping tabs on them. I think the fact that they have come in freshman year, been consistent, and have had pretty good performances will be good. But a lot of these guys, like, it's tough to break into the first team. So as we've seen with even Edwards from Atlanta United, he got signed for the second team, performed well, then he got his chance with the first team. So I feel like that pathway is super common. I know Baker from Dallas is a good prospect from there. I know he's been very consistent as well. He's probably spent his summers training for them. But I know it's a generic answer to say all 3 of those guys. But I think all of those have the uncoachable attributes that you want within the MLS system.
Yeah, and I think what makes the question, if I'm assuming he's talking about the draft, what makes it difficult is you have to obviously think like, all right, who's unaffiliated?
Yeah.
I mean, 2 of the guys we literally just mentioned them that come to mind, I'd say Willie B.
Yeah.
I think Brunson on that back line too is an interesting prospect. People will say that, and again, we had this discussion about size and all that, but I do think Luciano Picota, as he matures, he could be one of those like deep lying playmaker types, because the way he moves around the field, like you can just tell his overall football IQ is high. Like he knows and can almost prophesize what the opponent's going to be doing. So it's not where he currently plays, but I do see him. Like, imagine a guy like that 5 years from now. Like, because that's, again, what you kind of have to project to is, like,
And that's what you
you're
hope the
not,
scouts and teams see. Like, it's not just the
yeah,
first season; it's 2, 3 seasons, and you could sell them on for profit or whatever it may be.
yeah. But I believe he's unaffiliated. At
I
least
actually
that's
played against
contracted.
him in high school for my freshman year when I was like 16. Fun fact: my high school went up to Ohio. He went to St. Ignatius, and we tied. But
Yeah.
even then, he was a good player.
Yeah. Another, I think the current Mr. Soccer Ohio also just joined as a freshman to that team. Yeah, I mean, three more teams. We're only going to cover one of them, really. But Rutgers losing Kurt Kalavi and Abby Olamalin. Kalov Pro, Malin Pro back in his native Norway. Abby transferred to Providence. Those are the top 3 points getters
Yeah,
of last season. But they bring in Timo Jansen.
he performed well over the summer.
Yeah, for sure. That FC Motown team, obviously, they were kind of ranked number one in
Yeah,
the full or the whole country for good reason. I watched quite a bit of that team. Uh, Sneakier one, people don't really talk about him that much, but Cameron Boomsong,
yeah.
another guy from St. John's, I actually thought when I first really started looking at him when I was up in Manhattan last summer, I thought he was a pretty strong player. Can play like center back or defensive midfield.
Mm-hmm.
So the skill set, when you see center backs that have a history in a defensive midfield spot, it's like,
It's
all
a
right,
no-brainer. It's yeah,
yeah,
it'll be technically sound and composed. You would hope, but yeah,
yeah, and especially in the modern game with the expectations of center backs
yeah.
now. Andrew Kitch transferred in from North Carolina, big body, also a twin, so shout out from the Twins. Yeah, Ocean City Nor'easters guy. You know, I think obviously the hope for any incoming new attacker, it's you're
Score
hoping
goals.
that yeah,
It's like the
God help
score
us
goals,
out on the
man.
goals because this is another team that will need that. Kieran Dalton, still the netminder, experienced guy in the goalkeeping position, and Cole Crothers, Crothers. 2 seasons ago, I really started like watching him a little bit more. I think he is a really good ball mover.
Yeah.
So wishing him well this season. We're not going to get too into Wisconsin and Penn State mainly because I don't really have a good read on them.
Same.
Like Wisconsin went 6-1 to open the season, and then the last half of the season they went 1-4-3. They lose Trip Fleming and Dean Bolts. Bart Munns joins to head up the attack.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State, they didn't score more than 2 goals in a game besides a 4-0 win against St. Bonaventure. So it's another team that is desperate for goals in 2025. Kaden Grabfelder will headline that team. And the good news for Penn State is, bring this back up, the team that finishes in last doesn't finish in last 2 years in a row.
That's true.
At least. So, you know, they'll have that going for them. But yeah, a lot to figure out in Happy Valley. All right. So a little bit different format for Sunbelt. We're just going to eventually go through a few players each on each team, just kind of throw some names out there.
Yeah.
So we don't have anything to show. But I guess to set the scene, you can't talk about the Sun Belt Conference without talking about the dominance of the great state of West Virginia.
That's so true.
And personally, so I live in Charlotte, but I'm originally from Niagara County, New York, like Buffalo, Niagara. So that drive, you always pass through the length of West Virginia, and I love Morgantown. It's a great place to stop. And it was just cool because like kind of got to know Ryan Bear because he's from the Charlotte area, and obviously he was a big time player for the Mountaineers. And so yeah, going to like those games whenever I'd be like making the drive up and down, awesome place. It kind of reminds me of what Vermont is, like a place that doesn't have a pro sports team,
but there's a
but
lot of
like
love around there.
soccer, yeah, it's like a secret soccer state. And I
Yeah.
hope people kind of figure that out because, yeah, I actually haven't been to Huntington yet, and I want to because I want to compare the vibes. But
But even in Division Two, you have Charleston, who has been super successful. I mean, they've lost 2 games per year over the last 5 seasons or years, which is
yeah,
unheard of. So they have that pipeline. And like also like I know you were talking about like Dan Strafford and Chris Grassi, both came from that Charleston D2 school.
yeah,
So it just shows how I mean Strafford alone won 2 Division Two national championships with
yeah,
Charleston. So it's
yeah. So you
it's
got 3
crazy.
huge soccer schools in there, and
Yeah.
if you have success at that or like coaching at that school, you move on to
Yeah.
the big time. That's what Grassi and Stratford have done because Grassi was actually the winningest coach at Charleston.
Scott Wells too. I think the staff was Strafford and Wells were assistant coaches under Grassi, I want to say.
Yeah,
But I
maybe
remember
there's
this.
something in the water in
Yeah.
West Virginia.
I don't
that
know if
was
it's
like,
clean, but no, but no, I remember like I was listening to something about Scott and how competitive it was as a staff. Where like with recruiting, they wanted to compete who could find the best player or who could find the player that could fit the system. And I feel like, I mean, you become what your environment is. So obviously, both of these coaches have gone to do great things and win conference championships. So I mean, if you want to be a good coach, you kind of just go to West Virginia and find a school and make it work.
yeah, yeah, and that recruiting trend is happening for all 3 of those coaches still.
Yeah.
Like, especially because I don't know, I personally really like West Virginia as a state. It's laid back country. I'm from a country town, but yeah, I mean it's not flashy like some of the other. It ain't Florida or warm weather all the time or close to New York City or the big time markets. So
It's country
yeah,
roads.
you gotta be a
You
little
know,
bit more. Yeah, you gotta be
it's
a little bit
country
more
road.
creative to get some good prospects in there to help out the team.
Well, they definitely just come for the footy. Like, of course, for the culture and the
Yeah,
like school, but like they want to play with the best coaches and the best players. So I think it's an easy sell, especially if they become successful, like Marshall and West Virginia have.
yeah,
But like we'll go into it like this 2025. You know, South Carolina, UCF, Kentucky, making moves in the transfer portal, even Coastal. So like, of course, it's always going to be Marshall and West Virginia in the forefront. But this season, especially with a lot of the movement from both of these schools and the other schools behind them, it will be interesting to see kind of how it stacks up.
yeah, yeah. I think there will be an opinion of like, well, why not us?
Yeah.
And yet, what are you supposed to do? Just be like, give up. We have 2 teams in our conference that we just can't beat. It's like, no, new year, we're gonna try again.
You remember real quick? Do you remember that one game? I think it was UCF against Marshall like a year or 2 ago. It was like the last minute of the game, and the Marshall goalie like put the ball down after catching it, and the UCF player from out of bounds from behind the goal came and scored, but they called it off, and it was like this. It was scenes at the end of at the final time whistle. No,
Yeah, was that Zane Bob?
yeah, I think so. Like it was like the last second, like they didn't score off the header, and he was kind of like he was on the ground and maybe faked an injury or whatever, and the goalie
Yeah.
placed on the ground out of nowhere he came. And I remember he
Did
scored, and basically
Yeah,
it
because
was
they didn't
chaos
rule
after that.
they didn't rule that was a goal, right?
I don't think. I think
Ultimately.
originally it was, but then they called it off. But it was scenes after. But the Sun
Yeah.
Belt always has some crazy stuff happening. Like the Sun Belt's always something's up their sleeve.
Yeah. I mean, Yeah.
I remember I was watching that and like my jaw dropped. I'm like, what's going on right now? Because then like the benches are clearing and everyone's like complaining. Like, it was all over the place.
Yeah.
Shout out Sunbelt though.
Yeah. Shout out Zane Bob.
Yeah, doing well in Greenville now.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll start with West Virginia and just kind of grab bag some of the players here. Tristan Pustahegi for me, TFC Academy, one of those center backs that has a foundation as a defensive midfielder. In his 13 starts last year, 7 clean sheets. Yeah, expanded role in year 2. I think he's a solid player.
Yeah, I have for my first one, I have Isaac Shearer. I know we have a post coming out about West Virginia and him as a player, but spent time with Charlotte Independence, which is a League One pro team in Charlotte. 13 starts, 3 goals and 5 assists within those games, which is good numbers for a freshman in the Sun Belt. You know, he's a playmaker, wants to find the ball, combine with the wingers and CDMs, very much like Simon Carlson-esque. And even at times he played over him. So I feel like this coming season's a season that he kind of has more responsibility within the team and kind of takes control of the attacking half.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously I like him too. So I was like, yeah, I'll let you have him since you did the full write-up that we'll post in the coming days. But Felix Evald, good summer, 7 goals, 8 appearances, Lions Bridge. Looking to carry that momentum into Morgantown. With Sergio Ors Navarro leaving and Carlson, Olakainen, obviously you don't want the goals to drop off. So if he can expand upon his last year, they're going to need somebody like that in the midfield who can be a goal scorer. And he showed it all summer. So
yeah,
the replacement though on the wing, Braden Smith, be interested to see how he does in a new environment because Syracuse was so. Granted, I didn't watch like every game to try to figure out what was going on up there.
Yeah.
But like even with Daniel Burko for Syracuse, Braden Smith, they just like didn't equate to goals.
Yeah.
So
he was playing wing back too at times with them.
Yeah,
so he wasn't
fresh
even
environment. Hopefully, new coaches and all that. Like,
yeah,
we'll see. It's kind of like one of those unknowns, but
yeah,
in terms of like how it's actually going to shape out. But interested to see what he does.
Yeah. For my last 2, I have Antonio Lima for transfer from Franklin and Purus. And anyone who knows Franklin Purus, it's the Portuguese pathway is crazy. There's so much talent, so many former pros who come over who are a little bit older, but they're like Benny Prego is one that sticks out from Providence. He played Vermont Green. He plays 2nd division now there. So that pathway's there. He was a Division II national champion in 2022, 2023. He took 66 shots with 34 on target, which just shows what kind of player he is. He is a bigger, mobile 9, but wants to shoot, wants to get in goal scoring positions. Was a United coach's All East Region first team. I could see him maybe being a super sub the last 10, 15, but he does have an eye for goal, 7 goals, 5 assists. So I haven't seen too much of him, but from what I've seen is he just likes to kind of a fox in the box, be around the box, top of the box. Not afraid to drift wide as well, but that's someone that like scores goals, and that's always good to have off the bench or even if he's starting. And the last one is, of course, Carlos Hernando. Spanish center back mainstay, leader of the back line, 10 shutouts last season. I added like it helps having Max Bra in there because he was class, But even like without him, I'm not really too worried about him leading that back line. He has always been there. Also a threat offset pieces and just kind of fits like when you think about West Virginia as a defense and as a team, it's just consistent, strong in the back, solid. Like that's him as a player.
Yeah. And when you brought up Antonio Lima, I got to give a shout out to Rodrigo Perafita, also on that the national championship back-to-back team. Yeah, he's still playing pro.
Yeah.
He did love his time in the United States. If USL clubs are looking for some international flavor,
They always love the time in the United States. It's always a good
yeah,
time.
he's like, man, I'd love to come back.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you know, USL is getting a lot of new teams.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously, like we won't go into depth. Everyone knows Marcus Caldera and Ethan Deckeldax again this year. Want to see if his role expands.
Yeah.
But Marshall, speaking of transfers, and that recruiting, I'll have you lead off.
Yeah, I have Ryan Holmes. I make for the Marshall team. When you think about Marshall, you think about foreign talent, a lot of transfers. He's one of the few, if not the only American who starts. And he, on top of that, he's a West Virginia native, which is a cool story. And he's just always been there for Grassy in the midfield, even covering as a right back. He's just Mr. Consistent. He'll do the simple things, good size, gets stuck in, does more of the dirty work. But with that being said, he is technical because I think anyone on the field that plays for Grassy has to be technical, even the goalkeeper, you know.
Yeah.
But he's just Mr. Consistent. I think everyone wants a player like him on a team.
Yeah, and then one of the transfers, you know, some people might know him, but he came in from ETSU. I saw him in the preseason last year. I thought he was an interesting midfielder. Louis Selkild. He's from my favorite region of the UK, up in the northeast, like Newcastle, Sunderland area. Yeah, technically solid, kind of a old school English midfielder style. He can tackle, get box to box. Interested to see like the new environment for him.
I could see him playing as a right back too, possibly. Like they like inverting those
Yeah.
right backs too, but he's a good player.
Yeah, with a team that has so much depth and kind of some unknowns with some of the guys that they bring in.
Yeah.
You never really know how it's all going to shape out in terms of like the projected starting 11 and stuff like that. But he's definitely an interesting guy.
For my last one, I have Momo Diop, transfer Senegalese from Ryder. I didn't know too much about him, but when I looked into him and saw his highlights in some full game film, like talented player and fits exactly what Marshall needs, especially with Tariq leaving. He was the Matt Golden Boot winner, 10 goals, 4 assists, starting all 20 games. He's a quick, dynamic winger who just holds the touchline, and he likes to continue his run after playing to the 9 or 10. The first thing I thought of was, you know, the goal Tariq scored against Ohio State in the buildup when he kind of just held the back line, and then like, you know, the 10 and 9 kind of checked in for Marshall, and then that whole gap opened up. Like Diop is so quick that I could see Marshall exploiting that. Like basically having him hold the touchline and waiting for it to break and just getting on top of the through balls. But with that being said, Grassy did a good job finding a Tariq replacement, but he's a talented player to look out for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I recognize the name from last year's. Pretty sure he was draft eligible, if I remember correctly. Speaking of the draft, Takahiro Fujita, no real scouting needed there.
Yeah.
Drafted by Orlando City, and they don't really ever miss in terms of like who they go for. Kentucky, basically the main note from 2024 to 2025 is Logan Dorsey was the primary goal scorer. He had 14 goals. Replacing that might be more of a collective effort, but I also think Isaiah Chisholm, I think there's more to see from him. I do think he improves upon his last time out. The work done behind from Oliver Stavdal will be important.
Yeah.
And moving back further to their own goal, Mark Smur, obviously another one that a lot of people know just because he's been such a consistent player for them. He was the minutes leader last year, Tottenham upbringing. So he's got like the foundation, and obviously he's been shown it. One of those guys too that just he plays all year round.
Yeah.
Believe he was with Lexington this summer.
Yeah. I mean, Max Miller too, dynamic right back. Spent time with Asheville City in the past. He's back from injury, which is good to see, but he's also that bombing down the right flank. Good service. Augustine Lopez too. I
Yeah,
thought he caught my eye. Definitely because of the eye test. Attacking midfielder from Argentina, Sunbelt second team, and to get that as a freshman says a lot, especially only having 2 goals, 2 assists, which
yeah,
kind of just shows how he dictates and impacts the game without the goals and assists. And I
yeah,
think that's like nowadays, everyone loves the goals and assists, and that's important to have as a forward and an attacking mid and a winger. But I think there's like a lost art of like a 10 who maybe doesn't have the numbers, but is so annoying to deal with. And
yeah,
I remember watching the West Virginia game, and he was a handful, like turning players, turning the game. So he's someone to look out for. Super smooth on the ball, silky, good turn. He's just a good player, and it's cool because a lot, South American freshmen might have a difficult time at times transitioning to the college game, especially like technical players. But he does have some bite to him, so it was a solid season, and it'll be good to build off that.
yeah. And I mean, he'll one of the things for the goal, um, or the attacking side of things, they did take in maybe they're friends, but
Yeah,
Argentinian Brazella from Virginia played
yeah,
freshman year in Virginia. He could be an interesting player for them. I think again, another year of experience,
mm-hmm.
new environment. Um, yeah, that could be interesting as well, especially seeing those two team up. But yeah, with the Max Miller returning, like obviously it sucks, man, seeing like I know leading into last season, he was kind of like one of the main guys that was like, we got to watch him and
Yeah,
monitor him, and then getting like injury or getting an injury before the season. But Josh Gordon stepping in,
yeah,
I thought he's played pretty well. So it'll be interesting to see how they how they get him out there with a Max Miller returning, because I think he's definitely earned a spot in the starting lineup.
yeah.
So yeah, whether he goes to the other side or whatever, but that'll be one of the things that I'll look for because I want to see how they incorporate some of these guys. We obviously talked a lot about South Carolina to start the.
Yeah, we don't have to do that.
Yeah, we don't really need to. I mean, the only thing I'll say for Tyler Trimnell graduating Clemson, finishing up with his last year now with South Carolina, I think he fits the style of play as it develops and he gets incorporated back into a style that really try to feature more like true strikers. Um, but yeah, I mean, he's a tireless workhorse, and I think the poaching ability with his complete forward style, I'm hoping it's a solid year for him. Because again, if you want to compete in the Sun Belt, you need to have that goal threat, and they've obviously brought in a few players that can hopefully do that for them.
I agree.
But one of the sneaky teams, I think a lot of maybe it's just my perspective or perception of it, but since I used to live in Florida for a couple years, I always kind of just check in on the Florida teams. But with West Virginia, those schools kind of dominating the attention of the Sun Belt, and maybe it's because it's the southernmost team in the conference, but Central Florida, their recruiting is always interesting
Yeah,
because they bring in guys from like household name clubs in Europe, like um, Gladbach, Olympique Lyonnais, like that's where their center backs came from. And then they're bringing another guy from the Southampton Academy who's been through the academy all the way to the 18s and the 20s, Premier League 2, U18 Premier League. But Jem Hewlett um, be another guy it'll be just interesting. And obviously, Southampton's academy is known for producing players. And obviously, they bring back Clarence Aouidar, so you agree that, or you like him as well. So
Yeah, I mean, especially when the game gets stretched, because I do think UCF plays an expensive 4-3-3 when it is kind of back and forth, but that's when they're most dangerous. I think like Clemson, he was found the most success off the left, but very technical, can drop the shoulder. I mean, like I feel like nowadays any French midfielder attacker is just really good. But he's a talented player, talented. I think Alex
Yeah.
Smith too is a good one. He's just kind of Mr. Consistent, older player from Georgia Southern. Spent last season with UCF, just big, dynamic. And because it's expensive, the center backs are very technical. So I think at times if there is a giveaway or maybe it is stretch, Alex Smith is there to have that cover and have that speed. So I think that's always good to have on the outside of the field.
Yeah, and I think like for Clarence and Malik Diaw, who transferred in, having a 6'5", like just big dude as their 9, and Cladell Ngubu.
I've seen him play live couple times.
Yeah, just transferred
Big
from
guy.
Limestone.
Yeah.
Back-to-back 6-goal seasons. I think having a target like that for the wingers who can be more like left and right forwards in a way, because they do, like Anderson Rosa last year. When you get the width, when you have 3 forwards and you can get them to be closer because you have outside backs who provide the full width of the field.
Yeah.
It just, I love doing that stuff. But yeah, it's like having the versatility for Aouidar to where he can be on the outside for an underlapping wingback or one of the advancing eights like Belatrash would do, but obviously he transferred out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like one of those teams that, I don't know too many people who are doing like conference previews and stuff, but like it's a team that could easily challenge. Like if it all comes together, I wouldn't personally be surprised if November 1st comes and like UCF is at the top of the Sun Belt, because they have the pedigree to do so. Because even bringing in a true DM or defensive midfielder, like I love a ball winning 6 because you don't really see it that often. Like they're kind of hard to find. And this kid, Yunus Bodinar, French Algerian descent.
He's a true 6, true ball winning 6.
Yeah, for sure. And I watched some of his tape, and I remember playing FIFA like a long time ago, and I always remember like the commentators would say like, "Oh, tackling is a dying art, but it's still alive and well when he's like on the field," or something like that. But I do agree, it's something that like we've seen throughout the modernization of the game is like the skill of tackling, especially in the center midfield. Like it's kind of a rare thing to truly find someone who's like enthusiastic about it, can do it legally,
but also technically good enough to be on the ball and help facilitate the play. And I feel like it's look at PSG with like Vitinha. He's like 5'6" and super technical, but he's not the best tackler. And of course, the way they play, they're okay with that. But to relate it back to the college game, finding that player that can be a tackler and can like loves a challenge, but can also be technical and help drive the ball. So you're not just like mentally knowing, oh, I can't play this 6 because I know he's only a tackler. That goes a long way.
Yeah. And then obviously the strong center back pairing too, with him right in front doing a lot of dirty work.
Yeah.
And the return again, another guy returning from injury, Timothy Arias. I think got a lot of attention leading into last season, in the early stages of last season. So it was kind of a shame that his 2024 came to a short end. But yeah, I mean, all around talented team. So if Scott Calabrese gets them all on the same page, and
Yeah.
I mean, again, won't be too surprised if they battle some people. We won't go through everybody, but just because we're at the 2 hour mark, I think that's where our sweet spot is like
Yeah.
maybe 2:10. But some interesting guys coming into, or at least a couple coming into Coastal Carolina. So Angel Martin, he comes recommended by none other than Alvaro Garcia Pascual. So he comes in from Sevilla, where he's played like kind of the past few years. I'm interested to see, because like, I mean, if he, I've never seen him play, but if like he can match what Pascual provided,
Yeah.
first team, 10 goals, that type of season, like I don't actually have the table from last year, but if you can have a consistent goal scorer, um, I mean, moving up the table is the objective. So,
Yeah.
and they have another Spanish center midfielder, John Moody,
Hmm.
comes in. Another guy with quite a bit of experience as a 22-year-old. And then I didn't watch him last year, but last summer I thought Christian Cook definitely has the ability to impact a game.
Hmm.
So I saw that with Charlotte Independence, and I mean, I guess tomorrow, might as well insert this. Like, I'll be going to Coastal versus Gardner Webb, so I'll actually get a lot more familiar with Coastal Carolina than I
Yeah.
had before. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
And Coastal is not afraid to use the transfer portal. Like every season, it's usually like bring in 10 guys and maybe 5 or 10 guys leave. So, I mean, the coaching staff is not afraid to give kids chances and even, like chances who maybe went into one school with a lot of hype and kind of died off and didn't get the chance they wanted or it wasn't the right fit. Coastal's usually a good place for them to see if they can bounce back. Or that being said, we've also seen it where they go and they don't, and it's not the best fit, or they want to go someplace else. But then we've also seen in years where like it's successful and it all clicks. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how these transfers do. And like I said, like they have good resumes and they're a talented group. So if it all clicks, it clicks. But then we've also seen on the back end, not just from Coastal, but multiple teams who use the transfer portal, it not clicking.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, they do tend to have or attract like decent number nines,
Yeah.
because Franzi went on to have, or is still having, a fantastic top tier footballing career
Yeah.
and Haiti national team. So, like, he's been Golden Boot winner in a couple of the
Yeah.
leagues that he's been to. So, yeah. And who doesn't like the beach?
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, I think I mean, throughout this whole project that you and I are doing, it's like if we didn't cover the team today, you can sleep easy knowing that we're going to be making our rounds to a lot of programs in terms of like our coverage, because we do want to provide a full, or as full of a view of college soccer in 2025, or
Yeah.
to the best of the ability of two guys that actually have jobs outside of this. Um, but yeah, I don't know if we want to like say anything for what we're planning on moving forward.
There's a lot of more of the game recaps. I feel like that we'll do like in tweet form and threads, player spotlights, and just as the games pick up, we'll try to find as many games as we can to watch live and over the TV. But yeah, like just like I said, we want to cover anyone and everyone. So
Yeah. Yeah. And especially early on in the first couple months, I think if you're playing well, we're going to try to like show that and highlight that. And, get some more exposure for players and programs. And then I think closer towards the end of the season, that's when we'll start to narrow the focus on the pro potential side.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of one of those things where we want to help grow the exposure of the level itself, while also holding true to like real deal scouting
Yeah.
and leading up to the draft. And hopefully like some USL, they'll start like they won't need the MLS litmus test anymore, and they'll
Yeah.
just be bold enough to say, hey, I like that kid, I want him on my team, and not have to be like, well, like, I don't know, see if an MLS team is interested in him first,
Yeah.
and then we'll take
We
him
want to
like 2
skip that
years
process.
later. And it's like, you could skip all that and just get your
Yeah.
guy. But yeah, for me, like I said, Coastal Carolina visits Gardner Webb, so I'll go there tomorrow. We won't have that in an episode, so I'll try my best to kind of like tweet out the goals or stuff as it happens. And then I'll probably stay over in the general area, because the next day Duke visits UNC Asheville. So I'll go there on Tuesday. Same thing. Kind of like live updates with like some video posts. So I'll try to grab the goals and stuff. And then maybe if depending on the level of performances for some players, I like doing match highlights for players as well. So I can try to do that just to get a little bit more I don't know, content out there for guys that I think are playing well, even if it is exhibition.
No, yeah, we'll be having some good stuff posted. So just follow us on Twitter, and we'll probably do another episode next week or the week after, once like the first games of the season that actually matter happen.
Yeah. Well, I think we might do one Saturday.
Yeah.
But it might be another Sunday episode because
if you follow us on Twitter, we'll give you the updates. Like we just have to see how the games go and what content we have.
Yeah, and which ones are available, because like Friday and Saturday there'll be games. I think Wake plays Tulsa at some point, and High Point plays. God, who do they play?
Georgetown.
Yeah, somebody.
Like someone like that. No, maybe not. Mean, yeah, we'll figure it out for you guys.
Somebody plays VCU as well. So and obviously Dylan lives in the Raleigh area, so he's lucky.
Don't be out on me like that.
I'm telling everyone your address. No, you can. He's got the easy drives, so we'll try to work out a schedule here.
Well, I thought it was a good episode. A lot of content, a lot of stuff to look out for.
Yeah, I'm just excited to get into the actual season at this point. Like, we're raring to go for like steady games and stuff to talk about. Instead of like doing all the previews, but we appreciate everybody for joining anyway. I mean, that's it for me. I don't know if you got any final words there, Dylan.
No, I'm ready just to get the games going again and the season to really pick up. So till next time.
Yeah, we'll set everybody free. Thanks for joining College Soccer Match Day.